Welcome to Handsome Her, where women reign supreme.
This is called the Wall of Dames, so it's a wall of inspirational women.
Owner Alexandra O'Brien calls it a space for women by women, with priority seating for females and an extra tax for men.
Today, I'm asking a very serious question. Have you ever wondered what would happen if feminists opened their very own restaurant? Perhaps it would be a good example of female empowerment. Maybe the food would taste good. Maybe it would be a complete success. Or it would have all of its priorities wrong, it would be a laughingstock for the entire internet, and it would shut down before you can even say pop feminism is a joke compared to legitimate feminist causes. How do you honestly think a feminist restaurant would go down? Newsflash, it goes down like a loaf of bread made with feminine yeast. Horrible. What's up everybody, it's your favorite gay-looking straight boy Hunter Avalone here, back with another video. Today, we'll be looking over the blunder that is this feminist restaurant. Doesn't this concept already just sound weird in general? I mean, feminists are the last people I'd expect to willingly go into business making sandwiches. Today, I'll be telling you all the sad story about this feminist eatery that rose to fame and then quickly crumbled into a joke not even Gordon Ramsay would try and save. Our story begins a long time ago, in the ancient year of 2017. This is where we meet Alex O'Brien. She's an Australian lesbian activist who describes herself as a feminist, not the fun kind. I'm not sure what compelled her to open a restaurant, but O'Brien went ahead and opened her own Australian cafe called Handsome Her Eatery. A vegan cafe, O'Brien says, is for women, by women. And she isn't lying. One of the restaurant's rules is that women get priority seating.
My name's Alex and I'm the owner of Handsome Her Cafe here in Brunswick Moorland. We wanted to first and foremost have a cafe that was going to centre women and other marginalised groups.
So this was the first mistake far too many feminist creations make. Whether it's a movie, a TV show, or this restaurant, advertising your business as made by the women usually isn't a very good approach. And granting priority seating to women is a bad idea for obvious reasons. Like, imagine some big black guy walks into the restaurant, he picks a seat by the window, when suddenly the manager comes up and says, "Sorry, that seat is reserved for only women. To the back with you." Now, I am personally unbothered by this. No matter what happens, I would never become such a cuck that I would willingly choose to eat at a vegan restaurant. But this is arguably against Australia's Sex Discrimination Act of 1984, which makes it unlawful to provide goods or services or make facilities available to discriminate against another person based on their sex. Regardless, the restaurant opened, and it was a mild success. The eatery was quaint inside, and it featured a wall of inspiring women. Cheesy, sure, but nothing worth complaining about. However, giving priority seating to women is not the end of it. No, in fact, it's only the beginning. This feminist eatery also introduced the man tax. For 1 week out of every month, men were given the option to pay 18% more than women for their meal. The reason for this? The bloody wage gap.
1 week out of every month we have an 18% premium for men, which is the same amount as the gender pay gap.
I think it's fair if you think about the world and the gender inequality that we have.
O'Brien says, "We are bringing the gender pay gap to the forefront of people's minds. I like that it is making men stop and question their privilege a little bit. One of my friends who works for a non-profit women's service was talking about the pay gap, and I thought it was a good idea. So we decided that 1 week every month, we would charge men an 18% premium, which we will donate." The internet's response to this was, how do you put it? Absolutely savage, to say the least. From claims of discrimination to criticisms that this creates a bigger divide, the Bird app wasn't too pleased with the apparent man tax. Now, although it was certainly blown out of proportion, and many failed to note that the man tax was indeed optional, I still think asking men to pay for the sins of their sex is ridiculous, divisive, and a horrible business model. Now, being a public figure, I've received a lot of criticism, probably because I'm smarter, sexier, and more humble than most people on YouTube. However, one of the criticisms I've frequently received is that I'm stuck in 2016. So, to the haters constantly saying that, congratulations. Today, you're right. Because it is indeed the current year, and I'm stuck talking about the wage gap again. Far too often, the wage gap is presented as if women working the same job as men are being paid less just because they're women. I'm sure you've heard that women make 77 cents to every man's dollar over and over again, but this is of course false. According to Forbes, the official Bureau of Labor Department statistics show that the median earnings of full-time female workers is 77% of the median earnings of full-time male workers, but that is very different than 77 cents on the dollar for doing the same work as men. The latter gives the impression that a man and a woman standing next to each other doing the same job for the same number of hours get paid different salaries. That's not at all the case. Full-time officially means 35 hours, but men work more hours than women. That's the first problem. We could be comparing men working 40 hours to women working 35. Women's yearly salaries do tend to be lower than men's yearly salaries. However, that's in large because of the choices women make, not some kind of discrimination. Women are less likely to apply for higher paying jobs, ask for a raise, and work as many hours as men. So the way the wage gap is communicated, like in the case of this feminist eatery, is woefully misinformed. But it doesn't really stop there, because I do think we need to ask ourselves, why are women less likely to apply for higher paying jobs? I think that this is indicative of a systematic issue. It wasn't all that long ago that women were kind of discouraged from pursuing high paying jobs or requesting a raise. Some of the expectations we placed on women didn't really include focusing on career. Although we've made some significant progress, I think the wage gap may still reflect a past systematic issue. So, like everything in politics, this is a nuanced issue, and this feminist eatery asking men to pay more just because of the wage gap doesn't really make any sense, and I think it's one of the many reasons why this man tax was met with so much animosity.
Staff say the gender tax isn't aimed at excluding people, but rather educating them.
Handsome Her Eatery had become the punching bag of the internet. The lesbian feminists who started this thing were being mocked left and right, and almost everyone was put off by the concept of a man tax. So after less than 2 years in business, the cafe permanently shut down. Although they claim they didn't close because of the man tax, I have no choice but to assume the extreme backlash played a role in the short life of this feminist eatery. So how do you think this feminist eatery justified its closing? Well, it did so by doing exactly what you'd expect a feminist-run business to do. They blamed the patriarchy. In a now deleted or privated Facebook post, the Handsome Her Eatery explained that it was going out of business. The man tax blew up the internet, an idea that we didn't think was all too radical, yet the way the world responded showed us how fragile masculinity is and solidified the necessity for us to confront and dismantle patriarchy. Yet with these shenanigans, you really only dismantled your own business, sweetheart. Are there ways in which society still disenfranchises women? Absolutely, but your restaurant closing is not one of them. Again, you're trying to confront nuanced issues in the most brainlet way, and people being upset about this is not an indication of fragile masculinity or the patriarchy. It's a result of your own idiotic business model. We were just one little tiny shop on Sydney Road that was trying to carve out a swath of space to prioritize women and women's issues, and suddenly, we became the punching bag of Melbourne and the internet. We tried to demonstrate ways of doing business more ethically and responsibly by abandoning takeaway cups, single-use straws, and napkins. Can you not play coy? No one is denying that your little cafe did some good for the environment, and of course, donating to charity is always a good thing. But the backlash and the reaction you received was not because you just have a little cafe for women. It was because the rules you set for your establishment were partially misunderstood, but also poorly constructed and arguably the opposite of ethical. We strive to bring lesbianism back into fashion. What? You didn't know it was out of fashion? Well, for many of us, it is. I really have no idea what they're even saying. I mean, maybe I'm reading this too literally, but last I checked, a sexuality isn't a fashion. Isn't that just a bit problematic? Seriously, last I checked, if someone is lesbian, who cares? Anyone who gets butthurt over the existence of gay people is a brain-dead loser, but I assure you, the backlash you received was not because you were lesbian. All in all, Handsome Her Eatery is a prime example of what not to do. Confronting social inequalities is a good thing, but doing so without nuance, boasting about a man tax, and giving women priority seating isn't helping anything. It really only makes the divide greater. I guess it isn't sexist for me to say, get out of the kitchen. Your eatery has failed, and this is what happens when feminists open a restaurant. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks everyone for watching. Peace.